Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Ed Majeski for Friday Night Vinyl with yet another top 10 video of this time Aerosmith. But these are the top 10, my favorite top 10 deep tracks by Aerosmith. And to all you, Solantra, glad you're here. So let's get started. Okay, so not going to put any deep tracks on this album. A lot of these songs Aerosmith fans got to know as regulars through live albums, through live performances. Probably an album I wish they could have went back in time and maybe about 5 years later re-recorded, because there's a lot of good stuff on this album. Everything sounded better live. Another album that at one point in time you could say there's some deep tracks on there, but we all know the songs on this album. We all have our favorites. I'm, again, not going to give this a deep track listing. You're going to notice I'm doing this for the first four. Toys in the Attic. Again, there's some semi-deep tracks, but everybody seems to know them now. We all know those songs. And last but not least, one of my all-time favorites, Rocks. Again, could you say there's some deep tracks on there? Sure, but I think we're all used to these songs. These songs were all through our childhood, and there's Petey. Welcome, Petey, to the show. And which brings us to the next album where I don't really have a deep track. You consider one maybe a deep track, but Draw the Line came out. You came off of Get Your Wings, Get Your Wings and maybe Get Your Dog out of here. Get Your Wings, Toys in the Attic, and Rocks. And when this came out, when you first heard Draw the Line, you're like, all right, that's a good start. And I remember when, a little shout out to Pierre Robert of WMMR, who passed away today, and they used to do WMMR exclusives. And you heard Draw the Line, and you were like, oh, that's a good song. Went out and bought the album, and it really took a while for this one to really gel. It's still not the worst one. We'll get to that one, but it's not one of the top 4 or 5 that I would be putting on. So I'm going to skip a deep tracks on this. I know some can argue that Kings and Queens is a deep track. Okay, but if you know Kings and Queens, then it's not really a deep track. So I'm going to start off with my first deep track is on Night in the Ruts. This is when things started like going bad for Aerosmith, breakups, and Joe Perry and Steven Tyler getting in fights and everything. But the song on this album that I would definitely consider a deep track is No Surprise. And it's got probably one of my favorite lines. It's something situation fetal, vaccinate your ass with a phonograph needle. But No Surprise off of Night in the Ruts. Deep track. Then Joe Perry and Brad Whitford left the band, and you had Rockin' a Hard Place that came out. And on this, there's 2 tracks on here. And one may have been released as a single, but if it broke the top 100, I'd be surprised. But Jailbait and Lightning Strikes are my 2 deep tracks. And I know some of you can argue, well, Lightning Strikes isn't really that deep of a track, but I'm throwing them in there, okay? You can take Lightning Strikes out and you can throw Kings and Queens in. I don't care. It's all good. It's music. It's subjective. The next deep track comes from, I just have to see which, because this album is just so horribly done. It comes with Mirrors. Now, I'm just trying to see if it was on the reissue. And no. So, the deep track from this album was not on the album. It was only on the cassette. And when I noticed that I had a different song on my cassette that wasn't on this, I had to give it a listen to. And it was Darkness. And this is when Aerosmith got back together again. And this album was, again, I would put it a little bit lower than Draw the Line on my list of Aerosmith albums. But when I heard the song Darkness, I was like, okay, I could still hear my Aerosmith. And they were there. And I was happy with it. So, yes. So, Darkness. Then it came out with Permanent Vacation, and there was a lot of hits off of this album, and a lot of this became live staples for the next 20 years, which is weird to say, because this album came late in their career, and, well, not late, but this was the album that brought them back, with Dude Looks Like a Lady, and Permanent Vacation, Ragdoll, Angel, and, yeah, so I don't really have I don't have any really deep tracks on this album, although I would recommend Cimaraya, but it's not in my top 10 deep tracks. Is this in order? So this album, Pump, I would put up there, and this could be sacrilegious for some, but I would put it on a very close call with Rocks. I would say Rocks number 1, this number 2. This, even though it had a couple like poppy songs on here, as far as deep tracks on here, Monkey on My Back, and I was fortunate that I got to see them play it a couple times, and it's a great song. And the other one on here that I was really happy I saw them play maybe once or twice is Voodoo Medicine Man. If you don't know that song and you have the Pump album or CD, go put on Voodoo Medicine Man and crank it up. It's a great song. It's probably my number 1 Aerosmith deep track. This album came out and it had Eat the Rich and was Living on the Edge. And what were the poppy hits? Crying, Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. This album wasn't bad to me, but I had a hard time listening to it all the way through. I don't really have any deep track favorites on this. Then we get to this, which I would probably say is my number 3 all-time Aerosmith album, since you asked. And this, where I said Voodoo Medicine Man, not Voodoo Medicine Man, where I said, Monkey on My, Voodoo Medicine Man. I would also say this has another great deep track, The Farm. Again, if you have this album, go put The Farm on, crank it up, you'll see what I mean. The Farm, and the other deep track I like on this is Taste of India. It's a little different flavor, and it's really good. It's a great song. So, my 2 deep tracks, and I think these are nope, I got one more deep track to go. That's what I would say on this album. And again, I would put this, maybe not at number 3, because you got to go Toys in the Attic and Get Your Wings. Then I would put this. I have to get a clear head here. Maybe I need another sip of Guinness. Still tastes a lot better in Dublin. This album, I have this album because I wanted to have the collection. Although I don't have the final album, because I don't know if that's been released on vinyl. And if it has, it's been not really anything to rush out and have to get, other than having the full set. But this one, I still think I have the plastic on it and everything. There's no deep tracks on this. I mean, I listened to it, and it really wasn't as bad as I thought. But it wasn't really good. And you had not just Push Play. You had Jaded off of this album. And yeah, did not like this album at all. My last deep track, because I think I needed this for my 10, is from an album called Honkin' on Bobo. And this is an album where they did some blues stuff, blues classics. And I really enjoyed it. And I would say that my deep track off of this, I think they're all deep tracks on this, but would be Roadrunner. And the reason why I like that is the Rolling Stones on a bootleg called Bright Lights in Big City that I had back in the 70s. Lenny got it down the shore at the wheel, and it had this song called Roadrunner on it. So when I saw Roadrunner on here, I had to listen to it, and yeah, Roadrunner. So there you have it. My top 10 deep tracks for Aerosmith. Maybe there was 11 in there. Maybe I fought one off with the other. But hey, at this point, who's counting? And anyway, thanks for watching. And hey, remember to like the post on Facebook, like it on YouTube, and hey, just like it, man. All right. but that's not too much to ask. All right, have a good night. Now I got to get up, walk over this lump, and turn it off.